Are we live? Hello.
I think we are.
Maybe, hey, can we see some movement in the chat? Hello.
Yeah.
Just to confirm. Maybe, hey. Okay, I think it's working. I had it like in another browser. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live after a long time. It's a different setting this time, less professional, I would say.
Why would you say that?
I mean, we are not sitting in the same room, and
Yeah, that's even better.
Yeah, 28. Wow, 30 people. Thank you very much for joining us. So we have like something special. I mean, something we would like to show you, and then maybe we'll discuss the story. It's somehow related to the course we've been doing. I think many people who join us today are coming from our Next.js course. Hello. So let's maybe roll the video we would like to show you, and then
we would like to show you a video first, and then
see your reaction or something.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so that's the video. And let's maybe talk about a little bit about the story, how we came up with this idea, what it is, maybe first. So, is the video created by AI? Is it? The song is created by AI.
Yeah, the music was created by AI.
By Suno.
And the video was created, it's handcrafted by a human.
Yeah,
so
I spent a lot of time.
Valuable, yeah.
It was a pain because we use this new tool called DaVinci Resolve. I'm new to this. Like, supposedly it's like a very professional application, right? For some Hollywood.
Yeah, it's an overkill.
Yeah, it's an overkill, and Mac is not good at like doing the recording, and I had to use my PC for gaming, and it worked. And this is the result. Yeah, but anyway, what is that? So this is Next.js boilerplate for Stripe, and we are building this like a boilerplate to use. I cannot pronounce boilerplate now. Boilerplate.
Yeah, that's why we don't use this word anywhere in the description, I think. Oh no, wait, we do.
Maybe template.
Yeah, it's more like a template.
So the idea was that we could use Stripe for everything when creating e-commerce, right? We noticed that Stripe has everything that almost everything that you could that you need to create an e-commerce site. And we decided to build on top of that. And this is somehow related to the course we've been doing, because during the course, Next.js course, there were like 4 or 5 editions. The task, the project that we were building together with our students was to build an e-commerce project like that. So we decided to maybe like push this idea further and to like combine the experience we had like preparing the course and then talking with people during the course, because many of our students, this is kind of like interesting, were super advanced, super experienced, and they've been creating e-commerce websites, some of them in different technologies. So through this like a combined experience and idea exchange, we decided that maybe we could build a boilerplate which is like fully how to say that, something which is complete, something which is comprehensive, something that gives you ready to use e-commerce template.
Yeah, and it doesn't require I mean the most basic version doesn't require any external tools apart from Stripe. So most of you would probably use Stripe anyway for payments. So why not use Stripe for everything?
Yeah,
including
exactly.
product management and everything else. So that's the idea. Yeah.
I think not many people know that. For example, it's kind of surprising that not many people know that. For example, you can define products in Stripe. Like you can treat Stripe as your database. And I think the only thing missing from Stripe is maybe warehousing or like keeping stock.
Yeah.
Something like to have it. But I think that's.
I think the biggest piece missing from Stripe is actually the storefront that we've built.
Yeah,
this is the big missing piece.
So yeah, that's the story of this project. And while we were building it, a lot of interesting things happened. And we decided to not only to build something for Stripe, to use Stripe as the backend for e-commerce, which is good for especially smaller stores, like a small or medium-sized stores. But we also decided with Michał to push the technology, right? We wanted to use the most recent things, both in Next.js and React.
Cutting edge, basically.
Cutting edge stuff, yeah. And today we would like to talk with you about, talk about that, what we used.
Next.js 15, React 19. I think the timing is perfect because we've been using the alpha, beta, canary versions for months. But now, after the Vercel ship conference, they released the release candidate versions. So the timing for this live is perfect to actually talk about what we've learned and the path that led us where we are right now.
So the first idea was to, I think, create a store or storefront which is super simple. And simple not necessarily means easy, but simple that, for example, it's easy to maintain, or you know how to maintain it. And it's also, there's like not a lot of moving parts, something that is less complex. And that was the first idea. And the second idea was that we wanted to build something that is fast, right? Super fast.
Yeah, not just fast, yeah.
Yeah, just not fast.
The fastest in the world.
Yeah, the fastest. And it's interesting because Next.js gives you pretty good defaults, right? If you create nowadays Next.js application, you can have like a very good scores. And it's partially...
I'm not sure if you've noticed, but I actually like Next.js.
I haven't. Maybe some people from the audience noticed. Do you like Next or?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I wear this every day. It stinks.
Yeah. So let's go back to technical stuff. So Next gives you those good characteristics, like pretty great characteristics about performance, and the company and then the community is working on improving that. But we wanted to like even improve on that. So as you said, we started to using some alpha stuff, and we'll be talking about it today. So I think the biggest like a change for me was when we started using, and something we've been teaching during the course, React server components, right? Like this change of like a paradigm change when you try to move the work like from the client to the server, and you try to do as much as you can on the server, and this radically improves performance, especially for storefronts, for e-commerce. So that's the first thing.
Yeah, turns out the PHP had it right.
Yeah. And the second thing, or another thing, is that as we work on that, there was this thing called partial pre-rendering, right? And we wanted to like use something like that to, because I think it's partial pre-rendering could be specifically made for e-commerce, or it's like a great use case for e-commerce, right? Like a checkout, for example.
Very well.
So maybe we could explain a little bit about that. So I think good starting point would be this like how to say study by Amazon that every like 100 milliseconds like reduces your sales on your e-commerce website by like a significant amount of, it's like, I don't know, few percents, right? And
yeah, I also just recently, I don't have the link right now, but I also saw a more recent study actually on this, and it confirms it's even that the value, the difference was even higher now, and it was done by a huge e-commerce company. So I think it's
so speed matters
proves the point.
for e-commerce. Yeah, speed matters for e-commerce. Your website needs to be fast for you to sell much more. And yeah, I'm just sorry for like, I'm just reading the comments. A lot of like faces I know, a lot of people I know is here. So hello again. Yeah, Maciej, Daniel, Martin, Damian, Max, Piotr. So yeah, speed matters. So we wanted to like have this, build something like that, like a boilerplate. Another inspiration for us, I think, was this tool, which is pretty popular on Twitter right now, and some people love it, some people hate it. And I think Maciej here also was mentioning that on our Discord, Ship Fast. It's like a template for Next.js with some predefined tooling. But it's pretty general, right? What we are trying to build here is more like a e-commerce solution, something which is more, because we've been also thinking about Shopify a lot. And Shopify for a long time was, first of all, Shopify also experiments with a lot of things, right? There's this framework, Hydrogen. They also wanted to use React Server. I mean, they're using React Server components. But for a long time, the backbone of Shopify was Liquid, templated language. And I think Liquid could be kind of limiting in a way, right? So for me, Next.js kind of like opens a new era for e-commerce. I'm not sure if, I don't want to sound like too, what do you think, Michał?
Yes.
Because it's
not
more
even a question.
It gives, I mean, it just gives you more flexibility. You have access to code. And now with like AI and with all those assistance from AI, and it's much easier to work directly on code. So you have good defaults, great defaults from Next, and at the same time you can have like those like a framework, a mental framework. Yeah. So let's maybe, so we decided the plan is to maybe go first of all to talk about what Next.js 15 introduced. And
or
so maybe
rather maybe removed.
Or maybe what was removed. So let's start with that. But before we do, I think because we also launched this project on Product Hunt, so we cannot invite you to upvote us, but you can just check it if it's live there. I'm not sure. We scheduled it. It should be already live. So yeah.
Yeah, we encourage you to leave some feedback on Product Hunt if you like it. And let's talk about the tech maybe right now.
Yeah. So let's go maybe through Next.js blog post. So that, I think that the big. Mm-hmm. Maybe you could share it on screen, yeah, as we did before during those lives. Let's go over together, and I will quickly maybe go over the comments again. I'm super happy that so many people I know in person join us. So, okay. Thanks, Miao. Yeah, so the biggest...
Anytime.
Mm-hmm. So I think that the most interesting...
Please go.
Yeah, I think there's some delay. React 19, right? That's the big point here. Next.js is the first framework that integrated with React 19, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think, well, I believe, I might be wrong, but as far as I remember, the Next.js was powered by React 19 in Canary versions since Next.js 13, or maybe even before that in the Canary versions. So the big thing that's actually happening here is that they switched they decided that the version is stable enough to call it release candidate. So now it's RC, and there is also Next.js 15 RC, and other changes related to that. But what I would like to underline in particular here is that when I'm not sure, Kuba, you remember when Next.js 13 was released, there were a lot of comments about how it seemed that the release was rushed. There were a lot of bugs. They were fixed pretty quickly, but still, nevertheless, that there were a lot of bugs on the day of the release. And the community perceived this that Next.js wasn't very stable on the day of the release. And I think right now the policy has changed. So now instead of releasing the Next.js 15 and probably again finding some bugs, the Vercel team decided to release Next.js 15 release candidate. And it's just semantics, but it's important. So it's not technically marked as stable yet. So
yeah, that's a great remark.
They are waiting for React 19 to become stable as well.
Yeah, we talked a lot about. That's a great remark. We talked a lot about this during the consultations with our students before. And regarding your point, because there was there are two camps, right? People who like that, because I really like this approach. I think it's okay to release things that, because it wasn't like Next.js was super broken. People were complaining more about little stuff. And usually another thing is,
and some missing documentation and some very small edge cases, bugs. Yeah, it's stuff like that. But it blows up out of proportion. Twitter, for
exactly.
example.
That was my second thought. That in Twitter, people who are the most vocal usually get the most attention, and it's polarizing, and people talk about that. But the other thing is that I prefer that something is released sooner than later, right? I prefer this approach. Because it's just allows you to play with that sooner. And this idea of having done something 80%, I think for me, I prefer working this way, right? Because you would spend so much effort on the remaining 20%, and maybe it's just a matter of people who should be more empathic, I don't know, towards releases, not to criticize that harshly.
But I kind of get it, because if you're running a huge enterprise where you would expect that a tool marked as stable is actually stable. So, well, thankfully, we can meet halfway. So you get the RC version, and then everyone who wants to experiment a bit can go with it, and all the other people can just stay on the previous one that was marked as stable.
I love your comment about the semantics, because really this just adding RC changes a lot, right? It's a small thing, but at the same time, it's not very it's just matter of semantics. Before
also, it's just to be clear, it's impossible to release software without any bugs.
Of course, yeah, of course.
So the feedback they get, there will always be bugs, and I think what differentiates a good community from a bad community is how fast they react to the and how do they react to the feedback they get.
So before we continue, because I promised that some people could join us during the live, and I have an invitation link. So if someone would like to join and talk with us live here, exchange ideas, and we'd be happy to talk to you. So let me know in chat, and I will send the link if the microphone is working, camera is working, as we did during the consultations during our course. Okay, so that's having said that, the next interesting thing is caching, right?
Or the lack of thereof.
Yeah, something that we've been talking a lot, and something which was pretty confusing, and it was confusing. I think it was magic in a way, right? You had to know how it works, and And now it's, I think, a more saner approach. It's just disabled.
Yeah, when it worked, and it was great.
Mm-hmm.
But when it didn't work, it was really hard to debug. And yeah, I think it's a good change. So what they did basically is that Next.js 15 comes with the fetch cache and router cache disabled by default now. So now you have to enable it explicitly in order to get the performance benefits, and you definitely should. You definitely should do that. But maybe the new defaults are better for newcomers, I guess.
There's also this discussion between like how it works in production and how it works in development, right? And as we've been,
and Next.js improved vastly on that. I mean, now you can test cache in development, which wasn't the case initially. But still there are some differences between the production build and development build, obviously.
Yeah. Many people who are here with us found some like very interesting edge cases for caching specifically. So yeah, now could be maybe a good time to revisit that and to see how it changed. Okay, and another point is partial pre-rendering. So we touched on this a little bit at the beginning. The idea is pretty simple. We are trying to make as much of the website static as possible, and then just wrap, let's say, certain things which are dynamic to provide like this information to the user about maybe the structure of the website. What do you think?
Yeah.
Do I describe it well?
Yeah, it's
So
like
I
I was looking for a word, and I think skeleton would be maybe a good, but then again, skeleton is another pattern in UI.
In the docs, they use this word shell, like website shell. I think.
Shell. Yeah.
It's I think it's a good word. Yeah, you have a shell of your application, of your website, and then as the time.
So basically, it's been there for some time. In Canary versions, you had to be on Canary, you couldn't be on stable, and you had to enable it in Nextconfig. And what it does is, like you said, if you have a page that is mostly static but includes only some dynamic elements, then it's able to pre-render the whole static thing, and the dynamic elements will be streamed via HTTP stream, dynamically on render. So what you had to do is just wrap the dynamic elements inside a suspense boundary, and yeah, but that's it.
So yeah, we've been using it as I said. It's a change that fits pretty nicely in the e-commerce context, and we haven't tested it much yet because in e-commerce there's like a focus on those like metrics, right? How fast you can like display maybe the image on the single product. It's pretty important because that's what sells when you see the image of a product you want to buy, or how fast generally the website loads and etc. So yeah, we have it in our in your next store. Partial pre-rendering is enabled. Along with, we haven't mentioned that because in React, we also now have React compiler, and we've been working recently, and it's also enabled. Maybe we could get back a little bit to React compiler because I think we skipped that part.
Yeah, or maybe we can finish the changelog of Next.js and then go to React Canteen as well.
So next after, that's the another thing, new API. And you said it's like resembling this like await until from Cloudflare, right?
Oh, from web APIs.
Exactly, from the web API. So you can execute something. And I was surprised because when I read this, I was thinking it's mostly about routes, like API routes.
Yeah, routes or maybe server actions.
Server actions, yeah. But it couldn't be also used in directly in components, server components. So
yeah, so the idea is that you finish the, I don't know, rendering or returning the response, and then the code passed to the next after is executed. Because if you don't use the next after function, or it works the same way in every serverless environment, the Lambda will just be killed, and there is no guarantee that your code will be executed after the response is returned. So you have to use this function to guarantee that the code is executed after response.
I have some flashback, Michał, from the past now. And when I was like starting my first like a first job, I was a Java programmer. It was a long time ago. It was 2000.
JavaScript?
No, Java, just Java. It was, I think, 2006 or 7, and there was this thing pretty popular at that time, aspect-oriented programming. And I wonder if anyone in the chat remembers aspect-oriented programming, because next after is like very simplified aspect, right? So do you remember aspect-oriented programming? Let us know in the chat.
No.
Okay, let's continue. So that's just a random thought. Create next app. It's like a small or big, I don't know, depending. Like the boilerplate, the scaffold is improved. The design is now improved, and you've been playing a lot with.
It also has the turbo pack enabled, and this is actually what we've also done for your next store recently. We've enabled turbo pack in development mode to enable much faster like hot reloads and much faster initial load, code load of your store, and it actually works. It works pretty well. There are no errors. I think it passes all the tests, right? I saw a tweet about this, so hopefully this will also become available for production builds as well.
So that's the list, and maybe we could now go back to React compiler because you touched a little bit about like a bundling, and you said something interesting to me recently about that Next.js is using like a particular way of bundling, which is maybe not compatible with. There needs to be something.
Don't remember.
Okay. So maybe let's talk a little bit about React compiler, what it is. So first of all, important thing to know, it's still in development and they don't encourage to use that in production, right? But we are using it in our boilerplate, and it works.
Well, pretty much everything that we are talking about today is technically not ready for production because it's release candidate, right? So technically they are all labeled as unstable. So, but I wouldn't really I wouldn't care too much, because if it works, then it works. If it doesn't work for some reason, you can just disable it with one setting in configuration.
You're reading my mind right now. But I also wanted to say that this is another discussion we had many times, that the difference between when React 18 was released and 19, and that's certain things were marked or like ongoing, but they were like pretty much done, and they were working maybe on the last 20 or maybe last 10% to like refine it for some edge cases. But in most situations, everything was fine. And I wonder, because there's a lot of people again from the course, if you guys and girls have the similar experience. Do you prefer to wait, or do you are you using the most recent additions as we do? Let us know.
So for people living, I don't know, who are on vacation maybe for the past month or so, what is React compiler? So React compiler is a compiler, or actually there is a huge discussion about this on Twitter, right? Whether it is a compiler or what is a compiler, and I mean bullshit like that. I mean, who cares? So maybe what it does, it optimizes your app for you. So you don't need to use memo or use callback or React memo anymore, because it is smart enough to know which functions, values, and components should be memoized like out of the box automatically, almost magically, I would say. And the generally code output from the React compiler is not very readable. It's not supposed to be read. There is also a discussion about this, that people argue that why is it so ugly? Because it's output from a compiler. So yeah, why would you expect it to be readable? But anyway, I'm very happy that the I'm not sure if this is the best way to like fix it in general, but the problems that React has. But given how React works, I think this is amazing. What they've done is outstanding.
Yeah, I think they have like a large code base, and at Facebook, at Meta, and they can test ideas. I also agree that's a pretty great idea and pretty well executed, and I think there is a lot of work that's been put into that. But maybe we could also say, because what's the goal? Why they introduced React compiler? The idea was to just make applications more performant, right? Given what you said, how React works, right? Like minimize number of renders, and to do it in a way that you don't have to have a PhD on like memoization or like underlying React internals or something like that. Because there was like a lot of interesting talks like a year ago or 2 years ago at React Conf, that people were explaining how it works, behind the scenes, and the mental overhead that you have to apply that to your like a production code. I think it's just waste of time, especially that, as you say, it's smart, so it could be automated. This is something which could be done by computers, not people, to think every time they want to optimize something. So yeah, pretty nice change.
Yeah. So they're doing some amazing stuff. Like I said, use memo, use callback, and React memo, but they're also doing a bit more. So for example, there is this code example that they are able to, not this one. Yeah, there is a code example somewhere that they are able to actually detect functions that are coming from outside of the component that are called inside of the component, and then they can like hoist them outside of the component. So yeah, pretty interesting stuff. There are also it could also break your code, because some of the changes that they do are unsafe. However, there are some like rules that you have to follow if your code is valid semantic. If you are using TypeScript with strict null checks and follow rules of React, then you're mostly fine. Probably should just work out of the box. But still, how do you verify that? There is this ESLint plugin called ESLint plugin React compiler that you can enable to verify your code, or like test your code base without having to actually compile it, or actually having to run the compiler. And also the added bonus of the ESLint plugin is that it shows if you have any problems with your code base, it shows them in your IDE, in your editor. So they are instantly available. You don't have to wait for the build to happen. So we've enabled both of them in React, in your React store, and everything works just fine.
We have pretty interesting comments in the chat. Maybe you could stop for a moment and read them. Or maybe, as I said before, maybe someone would like to join us live to talk about their experience with Next.js. And so maybe as we wait for someone, hopefully, to join us, maybe I will let's maybe read this comment first. It's by Piotr. And Piotr is surprised how much was changed in caching. Yeah, I kind of agree. It's like, as I said, before it was kind of magic. You had to know how it works, and now it's more plain, more simple. You just, it's off, right? By default, it's a good default, and then you see what's the maybe area of improvement, and then you apply caching to that.
Yeah, it's disabled by default. But actually, I had this feeling. I'm always for being explicit and not relying on implicit values.
Exactly.
So I always try to pass be extra careful and extra like explicit. And in your Next store, we've implemented it in a way, from the very beginning, in a way that we always passed the cache value explicitly. So it was always defined. We never relied on the defaults. And we were able to update from 14 to 15 in 30 seconds, and everything just works the same way as it used to. So yeah, I highly, even if it's a bit more code, I highly recommend not to rely on defaults. And it's not about Next.js. It's a rule in general, I would say.
Maybe another comment by Daniel this time. And I really like this comment because I think it's the default for me. I prefer to use or play because for me it's a joy of programming, right? So using bleeding edge or state-of-the-art technology is pretty nice, and especially for greenfield projects. And if it's possible, of course, for a client or I don't know, in a given context. And I agree, for legacy, it's kind of harder. And which is also nice in the context of React compiler, right? Because React compiler can be applied to existing code bases and improve them, which is like kind of like applying something new to a legacy code base to make it better.
True. But then also, it's just this. I had this thought that also in legacy projects, you usually have this. It's not really a matter of if it's difficult technically, but in legacy projects, there are people are just used to doing things certain way, and often it's more about the people than the code base.
Yeah.
So it's all about the attitude, really.
Programming is social. Another comment by Damian. He's talking about Svelte, and I agree. Svelte was like one of the first, if not the first, that like introduced this idea that you don't need a runtime in your bundle like React or Vue.js. You can like compile. And I don't want to dive into the semantic of the word compiling here, but and I wonder, Svelte is ahead, of course, but I wonder because we've been talking a lot about like 80%, like this Pareto principle, and I think React compiler can get you much of the things like performance, and then you maybe not, because when I was like observing what kind of projects are built with Svelte, it's mostly something which is animation heavy, something where you really need performance and optimization. And given how popular it is, right? How many people use React? How many people know React? How many libraries are there? I think it would be better to just use React, and then for some special projects, maybe use Svelte. But just
I think it's happening a bit already, because whenever we have like animation heavy projects or maybe a 3D heavy project, you tend to do UI in React and then take the computation heavy things out of React and do it in plain TypeScript, for example. So this is how it's usually done. And I had this thought that maybe the React compiler, the biggest benefit isn't actually the performance. Maybe it's the fact that you don't have to even think about use callback or use memo anymore. So we don't have to worry about it at all. You just write any code and hope that the compiler is smart enough to optimize it. There's this theoretical debate about, I'll find it in a sec, about sufficiently smart compiler. I'm not sure if you've heard about this. Sufficiently smart compiler. Sure. It's been ongoing for years. So I understand why people might not agree about this topic.
So while we wait, I kind of agree with Damian here. But I think the speed, maybe I will show this comment. I think it's just a matter of how much performance you need, right? Because if something is like, if you are building like a regular app, let's say, I don't want to say like a crude, but let's say like a regular web application, maybe you don't need that performance, right? Or maybe, but this is not to say that React is slow, but if it gets faster with React compiler, well, it's more practical, right?
Yeah, it's great if it gets faster, but if you were, for example, to optimize your application manually, then you would first measure and focus on the areas that are actually slow. So in case of front-end applications, it usually will be HTTP requests and not the front-end code. So
there is this
why bother? I mean,
there is this like a principle of programming, like a kind of like meme, but I'm not sure if I remember it correctly. Like first make it work, then make it fast, and then make it beautiful or something like that. Don't cite me on that, but yeah, and I agree with that.
I think it's the rules of code kata.
That first you need to make it just work, and then make it fast.
Yeah.
In that order. Okay, I just pasted what you, Michał.
Yeah, it's a very theoretical, like philosophical article. So I recommend it to everyone to read it in your spare time. Not right now, but
yeah, so the future looks interesting for React, I think, and for Svelte and for other. There's also this thing. It's another topic, but they're working on adding signals to the browser maybe in the future, which will also.
Yeah, I was about to talk a bit about this because the approach taken by Svelte and now by React compiler, it's different from the Angular Vue approach with signals. So it's interesting. We have this. I was under the impression that all frameworks kind of went in the same direction for some time, and now they are diverging again. So
they are diverging.
Really, yeah, interesting to see.
But I would say at the same time there are clusters, because before you had like each framework was different, and now you have like those groups of frameworks which are similar. The one you described, right? Like signal oriented, or like React is kind of its own category. And yeah, we'll see how it goes in the future. So maybe is anyone would like to join us for a discussion live?
There are also a few other minor changes in Next.js, but maybe we can, if no one wants to join, we can just go through them really quickly.
Yeah, let's do that.
Small improvements that help with developer experience, like a ton, like hydration error improvements. So previously, when you had a hydration error, you had to pretty much manually find what the problem is, and right now you get this beautiful diff where you can see exactly what was rendered on the server, what was rendered on the client, and on those rare occasions when you have a hydration problem, you can actually pinpoint it pretty easily now.
I have a feeling cool. It's just intuition based. I have a feeling that the development experience for Next.js and React will soon get much better. Do you remember that we've been using this canary version of Next, and you asked me to log something, and I accidentally looked into the console log, but it was on the server, and it was displayed in the browser.
Yeah,
we were surprised by that.
Yeah,
this kind of changes.
I'm not sure if this was merged to the stable version or not. I mean the RC version. I haven't checked, but I saw a tweet from Guillermo later when he suggested that they are streaming the server logs to the client during development, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, this is pretty cool, and it just gives you this like a more insight or like visibility into what happens. You don't have to. But at the same time, it's very important to have this distinction: what happens on the client and what happens on the server.
Yep.
Next, after, yeah, we talked about that. There's another interesting question here. I will put it on the screen. Piotr is asking, like performance about WebAssembly, I think, yeah, definitely. I think there is this. I think there's a lot of potential in WebAssembly. There is this thing called Wasmer, and they recently introduced this like Edge platform, Wasmer Edge. Right.
It was like 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Was it? No. Wasm, yeah. But recently they introduced. Yeah, but I think that could be the future, especially that many people not everyone is using JavaScript, and the ability to like have this like a common layer could be interesting. So I haven't been tracking this recently, but yeah, I think, yeah, I'm very optimistic about WebAssembly.
Yeah, I'm not at all.
You okay?
I think it's a dead end.
Okay, we will see.
But I also wanted to mention just maybe one last thing during about Next.js, that I'm one of the contributors to this release.
I see you're laughing.
I'm here.
Congrats.
Yeah,
So what
I had one very small PR for a small bug merged, so pretty cool.
So was it difficult to have it merged, or like for others to?
It was difficult. It was easy to fix and hard to have it merged. Yeah, we actually I had to ping the JJ on our Slack channel because we have like a Slack channel
to merge it. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's relatively like there's a lot of people contributing. So like anyone who's like thinking about contributing,
of course.
I think it should be relatively. I'm not sure if they have this like approach where they mark. I think they have like issues that are like easy to get started with if you are new to the code base, right? Like beginner friendly.
I think so, yeah.
So that's a good as a way to. Okay, so let's maybe now, as we talked about all those changes, let's see how we applied them, how we use them when building this project we've built, your next door. Maybe we could like share some screen and show how it's how it behaves. What do you think?
Of course. Just one last comment before we do that. Someone's asking if they gave me the cap and shirt because of the PR. There's actually a funny story behind the shirt and the cap and the box that's actually behind me right there. It was illegal to obtain it, so I won't talk about it.
But we also had an interesting story because we had the chance to visit Vercel headquarters, right?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
In California.
Yeah, and it was super like energetic. It was like a very inspiring in a way.
After spending whole day with Guillermo and other guys, George Palmer, Malta, Shatsien, and be able to work on your product is just hard to express.
So yeah, let's maybe show. Should I show it, or would you do it? You can do it. Okay.
What should I show it? The demo, yeah.
So this could be interesting for all the people that were building storefronts with us for the last 2 years, I think. So yeah, as I said before, we had this like exercise final project during our course, Next.js course, that we asked people to build an e-commerce website. And many people like pushed this really far, like adding a lot of things. And the stack was Next.js, GraphQL. It was mostly about how you can.
Okay, maybe let's talk about this project.
Yeah, and now, yeah, I'm just giving some context. So yeah, the other project was more about learning about technology, and here we want to solve a particular need. So create something which is simple to use. So yeah, maybe we could click around and see how it behaves. Is it fast or is it slow?
I don't know. Is it? I can click on it. It's pretty fast. Yeah. Okay, it's fast.
We also had this like transitions.
It's really fast.
Yeah.
The
maybe
transitions are hard to get right.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had to disable transitions at some point because it was actually recommended to us by Vercel to disable them for now until they fixed until the library is fixed. The problem was, and it's not just Next. It's actually the problem with I think every front-end framework they linked to documentation from other frameworks as well. The problem is with the view transitions. When you use the view transitions, there's a problem with scroll restoration. So when you transition between two pages, it's very hard to get the scroll restoration right. So that's why we've disabled it.
Could you search for something?
For what?
Like a bug,
maybe. Like a bug.
Yeah. It's super fast. So, and yeah, the idea was to like have this real-time experience when searching for stuff. Here we are using Orama, but we are also considering, because I'm a big fan of TypeSense, we are also considering adding other things, specifically TypeSense in the future. And compare.
I think TypeSense and Orama are the simplest and best to integrate with. If you want to use like an external provider, it's also very very fast. It's way better than anything else, and definitely way better than implementing Sage on your own.
Before we maybe continue, Przytrzask is asking about View Transitions API, and yeah, that's the what I was describing before. Exactly.
Yeah, View Transitions API. Problem with scroll restoration.
Could you go back, because there is this thing that we've been also like spending a lot of time. I mean, a lot of time, like this intercepting routes and parallel routes. The card. With the transition as well, right? It was kind of tricky because some Next.js version had it.
Yeah, it was one of the canaries had the problem with it. Yeah.
And
then what we are working right now is we've also integrated with, for example, Stripe Link. So it's actually really easy to share your data between different shops. That's interesting. I never and it link links between different shops and shares the data. There is the question from Max: are you using local storage to persist users' card selection? No. Users' card selection is persisted well, the idea of the card is persisted in the cookie, but the whole card is actually persisted in Stripe. So it's definitely good for consistency, but we are considering changing it a little bit to optimize, to maybe cache, like you said, just in local storage or something. We'll see about that.
For now, it's like more practical, but there's another topic around that, like the abandoned cards, right? If you have it,
right now, exactly. Right now, we are able to track abandoned cards.
So we could track it, and maybe it could be useful for some people because usually I do it. I admit that I'm adding something to cart just to bookmark it in a way, right? I just thinking about what I want to buy and adding, and then I forget. Interesting thing is that we spent some time about like working on this shipping, right? Because it's interesting. Shipping could be related to the location. Right?
Yeah. So right now we are just
Depending
using
on the location.
shipping rates. Yeah. We've just released. Actually, this was just released like an hour ago.
So right now it's flat, right? It's like a flat or a predefined. Maybe that could be a good word. But ideally, we want to have it like if it's I don't know, far from like a dispatching center or something.
Basically, should depend on the location.
Exactly, it should depend on location. And now it's not. But the nice thing, as you said, is about Stripe Link. It's super easy. You can just enter your email. I'm not sure about the phone, because why it's not remembering the phone number. Kind of.
Yeah, that's also, I wonder. I don't know.
But anyway, if ideally it should be just 2 clicks to make a purchase, right? To just click on the cart, add something to a cart, and then you enter your email, and then you can.
Yeah, you can buy, you can pay.
Yeah.
We've implemented categories, which sounds pretty obvious. What we've also done was implement variants of products.
Yeah.
And you say variants can.
Mm-hmm. So sorry for Just wanted to say that it's all based off the metadata in Stripe, right? It's like we are abusing a little bit the metadata in Stripe to make it work, especially for variants. So there's a question,
Is it possible to link shipping with a location and the size of the product? At the moment, Stripe doesn't have this kind of functionality. So we've implemented what Stripe allows, so it's flat shipping rates, but we are trying to do some discovery on how to implement what you are asking, because it's basic stuff, but without the need to rely on another provider, or without the need to have a separate database, for example. We want to stick to just using Stripe for everything, so you don't have to have like 10 different accounts or stuff like that. So we want to keep it simple, but also comprehensive. So if you have any suggestions, by the way, then please, I don't know, call me or something.
Yeah, so that's that. And maybe we could. Do you want to show the admin panel as well?
There's this one small thing that we are working on, but it's not actually released, so I would have to run it on locally. So no.
Okay, so we are also working on like a admin panel, because right now, as we've been describing, like the variants and the categories, everything is like kind of done in a way that it must fits into this like a key value approach, right? Everything that's possible in Stripe, you can only define key and value, and we are trying to use that to build all those abstractions, like how to define variants, how to categories are easy, right? But variants could be a little bit more.
So Martin is asking if we can use Stripe metadata to contain information about variation and size, stuff like that. So actually, we wanted to. So our approach, I think, is this: we want to keep it as simple as possible, and then give it to people for people to test, and then based on that feedback, we'll be implementing. More. But it's definitely possible, and then we could link it with using some rules. We'll see about that with the shipping rates.
So there is another interesting question from Ray. So we are doing it already. So you can define more images, and this is not possible in Stripe, the dashboard, but it's possible through the Stripe. Yeah, it's possible through the Stripe API, and so we will maybe send you like instructions how to do it. It's already implemented, and in our admin panel you can like upload several images, and they will be added to a specific product, and everything works pretty nice. So it's funny, that Stripe allows you to do that through the API, but not through the dashboard. Kind of interesting.
Yeah. I think I might be able to show.
Okay, so maybe we will show you. Yeah, we've been spending a lot of time on this admin panel, and the interesting. Yeah, what you showed is also like kind of, because there is like this OAuth flow with the Stripe Connect, and we need to figure it out. how to do it properly. But once you are logged in and have so here's like kind of dummy data. We are still working on that part.
Some of it is actually live. Some of it is still dummy. Yeah, but obviously this is all demo data. It's not. We didn't have the 500,000 revenue this month. We had more.
Maybe we could show the product first.
Exactly. I wanted to show. So we're building this as well. It's a thin layer above Stripe. We wanted to keep it as simple as possible, but because of some Stripe shortcomings, like the images that you said, we've decided to build this like a short compatibility layer above it. So in our compatibility layer, it's possible to edit the fields that are important for the storefront. So the other fields are hidden. And you can actually upload more than one image because Stripe, like Kuba said, Stripe API allows for that. I can upload multiple images and I have multiple images right here, not just one.
Could we apply? Yeah, could we try to upload something?
I don't know.
Do you have some good images?
Yeah, this one's good.
It's like 6 megabytes, but yeah.
Oh,
maybe something smaller. Okay, I think it could be 6. Yeah, anyone.
I don't know.
Any image.
Let's upload my face. Okay.
Yeah, so we can upload many images, and then we still need to work on the presentation, right?
I think it's pretty good because we are using ShotCN, but definitely some of the UX needs to be. This is why we are not releasing this just yet. So we are working on that.
Yeah, we need to improve a few things, but yeah, I think the future is bright. I mean, it will be.
There is also the variant support, very basic for now, but definitely easier than editing metadata manually in Stripe. So you can just switch between tabs and edit different variants. And we'll be adding, well, more features to it, but we want to keep it as simple as possible. The only backend that you will need is Stripe for now. So that's the plan.
Yeah, Stripe, or in the future some warehousing, right, or like stock management. Because Stripe, maybe in the meantime, Stripe will integrate with something like that. But yeah, because managing it through the metadata could be also like difficult,
painful.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Do we have something on our plan?
Don't forget to leave some comments or upvote us on the product hunt. Just search for your next store on product hunt, and please, it's one click away from making us very happy.
And yeah,
we're getting some traction.
But the general idea is that we are working, like, few people already like trusted us. For example, Ray, and bought this template from us, and this allows us to like focus on this. So thank you for the trust. And it's also like work in progress. We just want to
but also it's great because your feedback can actually influence what we are working on next. So we had someone mentioned in the chat today about the shipping location size, and I'm thinking about this right now. How can we do that? How to keep it simple? So we are actually influencing our decisions and how the product will shape.
Yeah, it's pretty hot today in Poland, in Poznan. I feel like I'm shining. I just wanted to add that we also have like the first agency client. An agency bought that, and they started selling tickets, for example, using this template, which is kind of interesting. And they are planning to.
And we got a ton of feedback from them, which is for which we are very thankful.
And one of the person that works at this agency would like to contribute pull requests. So if someone is if we are open to that.
Yeah, maybe she's listening to us actually today, or watching us. So let's say hello.
Okay, so I think that's all we had for you today.
There's one more question from Chichask. What about some rich text description? So actually, I think it's not documented, but we've implemented Markdown. For now, you can use Markdown in product descriptions, and it will render like in rich text. But I think we'll leave it at that for a long time. I mean, implementing some WYSIWYG editor is not fun, and I would hate to do it.
Yeah, we'll think about that. I think the Notion style would be nice. Regarding the Markdown, it would be also interesting to just reduce the number of things you can do, right? For example, maybe not every heading should be possible. I don't know. It's tricky, right? Because you're just editing the text for description. Damian is asking what package editor you use for Markdown. So we are using Markdown Remote, right?
Yeah, Next.js Remote.
So it's like
and they have the React Server components, Next.js Remote / React Server components, like import. So that works on the server side. Ray is saying that we should keep up the great work.
Thanks.
And he loves seeing updates.
Thank you very much.
Very cool. Thank you.
Grzegorz is asking, yeah, so intercepted routes were a tiny challenge because the behavior of Next.js changed between Canary versions, and we had some like problems because when we develop it, we usually are using Canary, right? We want to stay as close to the development of Next.js to like benefit from all those interesting changes, especially for performance and other stuff.
Yeah, maybe and we have the we are in touch with Vercel, and we want to work closely with them to make this as good of a product as possible. So this is why we can be on the Canary version only release when we are ready from time to time. When things are good. So there is the second question from Grzegorz.
It's about the like which new feature?
Obstacles.
Obstacles, okay.
Features. And and features of Next.js and React. Yeah.
So obstacles, I think we slightly like I mean we covered that. Another obstacle was like this what you described at the beginning, the Vue transition API, which is so Next.js needs some time to figure it out, I think, and we will like when they have, we will apply that. And regarding the features, what's your like the most helpful one?
I would say partial pre-rendering.
For me, it's maybe not the most recent one, but React Server components and the fact that, and it's kind of connected to what you were saying in a way that I love that we can push so much things on the server and keep the client as simple and as tiny as possible. So those two. I'm looking forward to React Compiler. We've just played with it a little bit. I'm not sure if it will be that useful for us, right? Because most of the things
just for the checkout, maybe.
Yeah, just for the checkout or other stuff. Yeah, and because when we wrote the description, we are kind of influenced by Shopify, and I was like talking about the liquid templating, and here we want to create something which is as easy maybe as liquid, but at the same time, if you have time and knowledge, given the React.js flexibility, you can do whatever you want with this, create any story you want without much constraints.
Yep. I see that Martin is describing his use case for the shipping methods, which is great. I'll definitely take that down, and yeah, it will have influence on how we design this. Yeah.
This one, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, pretty interesting about the size of the package and all that. Yeah, so I think some interesting changes will be released soon, especially admin panel. And yeah, that would be all, I think. Yeah. Another point is, as you mentioned, that deployment, we haven't really focused on that yet in the docs. It's pretty easy to deploy on Versa right now. But it's like the same for Cloudflare, I think, using the Next.js pages. So as long as, I mean, it's pretty easy to deploy this store.
Yeah, it's one-click deployment with Vercel, and we'll be adding guides for other like hosting providers as well.
Yeah, so thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for coming. Maybe next time someone will join us live and talk with us. We'll see. Once again, thank you. If you have a spare moment, please vote us on product account. And yeah, thanks for the day. Thanks, Michał.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.